Merry-go-round is very, very vulnerable, but it doesn't come from sadness alone. It comes from exhaustion, mental and physical, but also an incredible amount of awareness. They're certainly not whining, definitely not being ungrateful. They are just plainly and simply exhausted. But they also know why they are exhausted. And the title already tells you that. A merry-go-round is technically moving, but it never actually goes anywhere. You're spinning, repeating, circling back to the same place, and that's the core emotion of the song. Wish that I could tell you that it's over. I wish that I could walk away from the pain. Right away, the song starts with resignation, exhaustion. But the important thing is that he doesn't say, I will walk away. He actually says, I wish I could, meaning a part of him already knows he can't. In the next line, he goes, my life is like a broken roller coaster. And this line is actually more interesting than it first sounds because a roller coaster is supposed to be chaotic, emotional, intense, fun, but it still has structure. There's a beginning, a middle, and then an end. The ride eventually stops. But a broken roller coaster is different. It keeps going when it's not supposed to. It becomes unsafe, endless, and very unpredictable. So the problem here is not just the emotional instability, but the inability to stop. And I think this touches on something sensitive that people don't really talk about enough when it comes to BTS, especially at this stage in their career, because they could stop. Financially, they have enough. Legacy wise, they have already done more than enough, not just for Korea, but for the global music industry in general. They could walk away if they want to. But I think what this line is hinting at is that they don't want to. Because just like athletes or fighters, you continue long after you've proven everything. There's something inside them that still wants to keep on going. Music is what they love to do. This is their passion. Performing is what they enjoy. Stopping and retiring means they don't get to do what they love. Kind of like a catch 22. And Jungkook actually touched on this before in an interview. He said that part of him really wants to be known simply as a singer and nothing else. So this tells you that underneath all the celebrity and all the noise and all the expectations, there's still someone who genuinely loves the act of making music and being on stage. The problem is that the thing that they love comes attached to everything else. The pressure, the invasion, the exhaustion, the attention, expectations. Kind of like nature. There's something beautiful about nature, the oceans, the forest. But if you go in them, there's also dangers that come with them. You don't get to separate the beauty from the consequences. And I think that's where they are right now. They love music too much to stop, even if they don't necessarily love everything attached to it. In the next line, he goes, but maybe I'm the only one to blame. And this line changes the entire perspective of the song because suddenly the enemy isn't fame or pressure, the media, not even the haters. It's actually themselves. And I think that's important because throughout the album, BTS never paints themselves as victims. Even when they criticize people or systems, they still maintain responsibility over their own choices. So instead of saying the world trapped me, they say, this is my choice. And that's heavier, but also very mature because instead of blaming paparazzis or obsessive fans, sasaengs, or the entertainment system itself, it feels like they acknowledge that this is simply the nature of the industry. And they are the ones who choose to stay in it. The same freedom that they enjoy is also given to everyone else, and people choose what kind of lives they want to live. Some people choose obsession, some people choose cruelty, and some people choose unhealthy behavior. So BTS isn't saying people need to stop all the things that you're doing. What they're saying is that we know that the good comes with the bad, but we chose to stay here despite knowing all of this. And that's the huge difference because they acknowledge the darker side of their lives, but they also acknowledge that they are the ones still choosing this kind of life. I can't get off this merry-go-round, it spins me around. The simplicity of this line is actually very striking for me because it perfectly depicts what a burnout is. You're still functioning, you're still very much moving, and in fact, very productive, but internally, you're kind of trapped in a loop. The same thoughts, the same pressure, routine, and this is why the song feels very relatable even if you're not a celebrity, because technically, BTS could leave the celebrity culture if they wanted to. But what they can't escape is life itself, adulting. You can't say no to that. The routine and the responsibilities and the expectation cycles, we're all trapped in some version of that. That's why the song feels very universal. You don't need to be as popular as they are to know how they feel. I do my best, but I can't slow down. This line is actually brutal because slowing down should technically be simple. You simply stop. But people who are deeply driven usually cannot, especially when your identity becomes tied to purpose, achievement, or work. And with BTS, music isn't just their profession, it's actually their passion, which means they can't cleanly separate the thing they love from the pressures attached to it. Everything is just connected. And there's another layer to this that I think is very Korean and very Asian in general. RM has spoken about this before, how individual decisions are never entirely individual because we live inside communities. Your choices affect your family, your team, your society, your country. Whatever you do, every decision you make affects other people. That's much stronger culturally in places like Korea, Japan, compared to more individualistic societies in the West. So for BTS, just walking away probably doesn't feel simple. Not because someone is physically forcing them to stay, but because responsibility itself becomes part of your identity. So when you combine their love for music and their sense of responsibility and their connection to their community and the passion that they have for what they do, it becomes understandable why they feel unable to stop. So the line actually feels very honest, but also very complicated for some. And then we go to Suga's verse. He goes, I feel like I became an adult, but the worries are still the same. And this is actually very personal, but also, again, incredibly universal. Because when they were young, they were thinking about how are they going to make it? Will people hear their music? Can they help their families? Can they secure their future? And then they grow up, and the world is listening to their music, and they have all the money they can ever hope to spend. Their families are secured, they are popular. But the worries didn't disappear, it just grew. Now the concerns are how are they going to sustain their success? How will they continue creating meaningful art? And how will they carry expectations this massive? So the worries are the same emotionally, but heavier in scale. And this is also a very Korean kind of sadness because adulthood in Korea is tied heavily to endurance, responsibility, and emotional composure. You're expected to become mentally stronger as you grow older. But Suga's basically saying, yeah, I became an adult, and internally, it's the same anxieties, just bigger. The next line goes, in the same daily routine, a merry-go-round or a hamster wheel, it's all the same. This is probably one of the most important lines in the song because he compares a merry-go-round, colorful, nostalgic, magical, and a hamster wheel, which is repetitive labor, exhaustion, survival, and then says they're basically the same. That's such a cynical adult realization. Things that once looked magical eventually start feeling mechanical. I remember someone saying this before. I can't quite remember who it was, but how we never really achieve our dreams. Because when we dream, we usually construct this universe and idea of what it's supposed to be, being famous, being successful, winning championships, making money. But it does not include the discipline and the sacrifices and the pressure and the trade offs and the consequences of actually getting there. All we imagine is the glamour, just the good side of it. We don't imagine losing privacy or carrying expectations, being constantly judged, or having people actively try to tear you down, or sacrificing relationships, time, health, rest. So even when a certain part of your dream comes true, it never fully matches the fantasy you originally had in your head. And this line kind of feels like that. The merry-go-round looks beautiful from the outside, but once you're trapped in that motion long enough, it starts to feel like a hamster wheel. Next line, questions with no answers, running inside a maze. This is very, very much like anxiety, although it's functional anxiety. You keep on moving, you keep on thinking, working, trying to solve things, but there is no clear answer waiting at the end, just more movement. The next line goes, everyone pretends they're okay and keep smiling. And this is painfully human, but also very Korean culturally. In Korean society, there's a strong emphasis on not becoming a burden to others. So when people are struggling, they often continue smiling, functioning, pretending they are fine. That or they disconnect. We see this a lot in Korean dramas. Sometimes the ultimate act of love is leaving someone so you don't burden them with your pain or your baggage. That's very different in Western storytelling, where love often means enduring hardship together no matter what. So when BTS says everyone pretends they're okay, it's actually a reflection of their culture, where emotional endurance and concern for the community or for other people become second nature. And the scary part is that people become so used to it that they stop questioning it entirely. Next line, spinning up and down, just round and round, still bound to the ground. The rhythm actually feels childish a little. And I think that's very intentional because entertainment itself often comes like a carnival, colorful, fun, glamorous, exciting, but it's also very isolating. Entertainment is such a strange industry because, unlike medicine or law or education or engineering, it isn't necessary for survival. It exists in its own world. And once you fully enter that world, it can become difficult to imagine yourself outside of it. So the industry starts feeling both magical and trapping at the same time, which fits the carnival imagery perfectly. Next line goes, inside this inescapable cycle, my inner child is screaming. This is actually a very sad line, at least for me, it is, especially because I'm in the entertainment industry myself. I also create art. So I know that the inner child is the thing that keeps creativity alive. To survive and thrive in the entertainment industry, you need imagination. You need that reckless freedom and curiosity, the ability to dream without care in the world. And those things come from the child in you. So when he says, my inner child is screaming, it feels tragic because the very thing that once fueled him is now suffering inside the machine. And then right after that, he asks, please take me out, Ma. And that's such a primal emotional reaction. At the lowest point, you instinctively want to return to the first place that ever felt safe, your mother. I've ridden enough to my heart's content. Please take me out, Ma. So this sounds almost like a child asking to leave an amusement park after getting overwhelmed. And that contrast makes it hit harder because earlier the ride sounded exciting. Now it's just unbearable. My bed is my coffin. This is unmistakably depression. The bed is supposed to be your safest, most private place. Rest, comfort, escape. Your house could be your private place, but the most private spot in that would be your bed. And he even says that that space has become a coffin, meaning even rest itself is no longer a safe space or a safe place. That just strengthens that there is absolutely nowhere they can go. Maybe my world is one giant caffeine. This is actually very smart because caffeine feels harmless in everyday life, also very relatable because almost everybody drinks one. It's normal, it's useful, and it actually allows a lot of people to be productive. But there's one thing that not many admits about caffeine. That is that it is addictive and too much of it destroys rest. So comparing his world to caffeine makes the exhaustion feel strangely relatable. But he's also saying that this might energize them. This might allow them to contribute to the society or do something substantial. But it is addictive, and addiction is never healthy. Every day I go to kill myself, can I turn off my dream? This is probably metaphorical exhaustion rather than literal self harm. The dream here feels tied to ambition. They're saying that this thing that I wanted so badly is consuming me now. And that's a recurring BTS theme. The line between dreams and pressure becoming blurry. But you also have to understand this from the point of view of BTS, knowing how committed and how in love they are of music and what they do. So turning it off or walking away is like walking away from their life. This is what they live for. So if they turn their backs on their dream, then what's left? And that's what makes the line feel so heavy. This passion that they have comes with a lot of evils and monsters. Again, thoughts upon thoughts. I think about not thinking. And this actually perfectly captures anxiety spiraling. Trying not to think about something usually makes you think about it more. And that's just how the brain works. It cannot process a negative command. You cannot not think about something. And this is so RM coded. His mind always sounds active, restless, unable to fully shut itself down. And the song lets you feel how exhausting that internal world probably is. You can walk away from so many things. You can walk away from people, from work, walk away from someone. But the one thing you cannot walk away from is your own head. It lives in you and you live in it. Round and round again, are you happy? Smile for me until the end. This is haunting because the smile no longer feels genuine. It feels like a plea. Like, if we're all stuck in this ride anyway, at least let me see you smiling. And I think they're directing that toward the people around them. And that includes the fans, their staff, maybe even their family, the people who find happiness in what they do. It's almost like show me that this means something to you too, because maybe seeing other people happy gives meaning to this exhaustion. Good that comes out of my own exhaustion will make it worth it. And that's what makes this song feel so heavy. Because underneath the celebrity life, underneath the fame, underneath the industry specific struggles, the truth is that we're all trapped in some version of this merry-go-round. Routine, responsibility, repetition. We wake up, we eat, we go to work, we try to survive, we go to bed, and then do it all over again the next day. We don't have a choice. The difference is just scale. BTS is living in an impossibly big world, and we're just trying to survive our day to day. And I think this is a demonstration of why this album is actually very, very powerful because they speak of very specific emotions, very specific mental states. They're not trying to talk about a narrative, not trying to push forward a story. They seem to be drawing from pockets of memories or slices of their impossibly big and complex life. And they describe it with so much detail that somehow we find some commonality, which makes it easier for people to relate to. Merry Go Round is actually one of the most relatable songs that they have in the album, primarily because even though it really talks about the cycle, the routine of their lives as celebrities, the other aspect of it is the routine of their lives as people, as adults. And that's something that we all go through. It's something that we all can't escape. So it's really one of the most relatable songs that I find in the album. But there's also, I guess, partly it's really cultural. I'm Asian. And so a lot of the things that they talk about, a lot of the sentiments that they deal with or explore in this song, it's very relatable to me because I share their culture, part of it at least. I know the psyche, the relationship with your community, your parents, how your decision is not just your own. The things that you do, how you live your life actually affects other people. And I know that's very hard to sort of conceive by Westerners. And this is not a diss, by the way. I'm definitely not shading anybody. It's just a difference in culture. That's just how we are. We just know that whatever decision we make, it will affect other people. And so that's something that we always need to consider. It's not even a sacrifice, it's just how it is. So, but then it doesn't mean that it comes with no burden. The same thing as the Western culture has its own baggages. So, okay, I hope I was able to explain it well. I hope that I was able to give justice to the poetry of BTS. Would love to hear your thoughts, though. Leave them in the comment section below. And as always, you can say whatever it is that you want to say. Just please do so respectfully. If you want, you can support the channel and the online magazine, Asian Entertainment and Culture.com. We're trying to prop it up so that we can use it to give other Asian artists and other Asian art a bigger audience and access to a bigger audience like the West. You can support us by donating. The QR code should be on your screen or just by visiting the website, asianentertainmentandculture.com. I also do more content on TikTok, IG, YouTube Shorts, and of course, X. So you can follow me there as well. You should be seeing the ID on your screens right now. And if you are a member of my Patreon, though, or YouTube Shorts, I do a live stream once a week. And so I hope that you can support me there as well. That's it. Please like the video, subscribe, and hit that notification button. But the most important thing would be for you to share this video or other videos or the link to the channel itself. Leave a link on your social media, on your messaging app, on your email, text it to friends, family members. The more links there are of the channel, the better it is for us because the algorithm will recommend this. Thank you so much. Till next time.